Hello everyone, this is Ketter with Team Cardhoarder, bringing you a little hot take action tonight. In front of us here, we've got the lovely Jeff Hoogland's creation from SCG Baltimore. I think he's referring to it as Darwin Chord. So, we got one new card here to start it off. Eldritch Evolution. That is being inserted into, well, Jeff's well-established Kiki Chord shell, using cards like Quarter Calling for redundancy on the tutoring, and then just a suite of creatures to tutor up and a little Path to Exile action to keep things in check. The one-drop slot, we just got some mana accelerants, nothing too fancy, followed by some Wall of Omens with the Selfless Spirit. The Selfless Spirit is definitely one of bullets in the deck to help with your sweepers and your Supreme Verdicts. Some other redundant 2-ofs. We got Voice of Resurgence, and then last 2 1-ofs here at the 2 slot, Scavenging Ooze and Spellskite. Little Graveyard Hate and Spellskite. Deal with those pesky Infect decks. You can also use it against Burn. The deck doesn't produce blue mana off of its lands, but a couple creatures can help out there. Sliding over to the 3-drop, Eternal Witness. Wonderful value card. Something that when it comes into play, we can get anything that's, already hit the graveyard, or getting another tutor that we had used previously sounds wonderful. That, just so we're aware, that does not apply to Eldritch Evolution, as it does exile itself. That was definitely a specific choice and design to prevent, sacking a 1 into a 3, the 3 to buy it back, and just looping that a couple more times for value. That sounds miserable. And then we get to the 4-drop slot. This is where the deck really starts to take off and show what it can do, if it can tutor up, just some of the cards you wouldn't normally see, being cast. That's Pia and Kieran Nalaar. P and K played this a little bit in Mono Red Eldrazi. Well, it was awful there. It's great here. So we've got Restoration Angel as well. That's going to give us some blink effect on the P and K, the Eternal Witness, and it's also a combo piece for our last slot here. This last slot, 5 drops and an Elesh Norn. Revelark and Thragtusk get you some nice value. I think it's really important to note that if your Revelark is evoked, or if it dies and you have an Eternal Witness, you'll be able to witness back the Revelark. That's a nice little loop there. Thragtusk for all your aggro matchups in your fair decks. Wonderful card. And then Kiki Mirror Breaker, combo with Restoration Angel to give you that nice combo kill. All of your fair matchups with this deck, meaning decks like Burn, and the like. If you control the early game, you set up quite a few opportunities in the mid to late game where you're in the game on the spot. Magic Online will have to go through some of the loops, show you tapping and untapping. It's really not a big deal in real life. I mean, it'll just end the game, usually get the concession pretty quickly, and I think it's fantastic. And then last card in the main deck, Elesh Norn. This is a card that, I don't want to throw a percentage out there, but a lot of decks are just locked out of the game when this hits the table. All of your attacking decks, -2/-2, it's just going to take them out of commission. And then the pump on your side is obviously very nice, but not really necessary to close things out. So, main deck looks pretty sweet. Got some accelerants, some sackable 2s and walls and voices, and then just a nice spread of other cards with a good selection of bullets here. This list did take Jeff to the top 4, where I watched him get savaged by a Dredge opponent. I think he got like turn 2 or turn 3. It was pretty ridiculous. Thankfully, Dredge, everyone joined me in fighting the good fight. Bring your sideboard cards. Thanks a lot. Let's go over to the sideboard real quick. We've got a couple more one-of targets in the sideboard. Pride Mage Katake, Baloth, Scavenging Ooze, and Malira. And then we've got the actual, apologies for the rework there. We've got the actual targets, or excuse me, some actual sideboard cards that we want to draw and be casting. 2 of Fulminator Mage for your Tron matchups. I would imagine for some of your Jund matchups and the like, really want to keep them off the Raging Ravines and the sort. Elspeth, just a nice, beefy 6-drop to close out some games, a couple more removal spells, and then Lightning Helixes. All your aggressive matchups, be it Delver, Nakatl decks, or Burn, which I've mentioned like 3 times because everyone needs to be aware the deck didn't go away. Anyway, Lightning Helix helps out there. Lastly, a little engineered explosive action helps out with even the dredge deck. I watched Jeff's opponent introduce some Bridge from Belows to make a whole lot of tokens. It's great there. Mostly, though, EE is going to help in the mirrors where you're trying to, the Chord or Abzan Company tutor mirrors in that sphere, blow up some ones, blow up some Grafdigger's cages, and really just have a pretty nice effect in a few different matchups. So we're going to take this through a league, see what we think of it. I have a feeling if this is just like most of Jeff's decks, it's going to have a lot of really punishing cards, maybe a few cards that I don't personally agree with from a consistency standpoint, but if you understand the role of the cards that he puts in his deck and don't change them immediately, like people are prone to do, stop that, the deck will really, just win some games, for you, and then you'll be able to maneuver around with this lovely mid-range shell to take some games yourself. Briefly touch on the mana base. It looks great. We've got one Horizon Canopy. Beyond that, just a bunch of fetch lands and the like. I like a lot of fetch lands with your Eternal Witnesses. Firelit Thicket is absolutely a concession to the fact that we have this red, and then greens all over the place. Beyond that, though, it looks pretty good. Pretty standard Shockland spread. Couple of Scars lands. Apologies. Think about that one. It looks pretty good. I think it's in a good place to be able to put some lands into play untapped if it needs to and not take a lot of damage, which is important in a few matchups. It also, looks fairly consistent. Just remember, the deck is a green-white deck at its core. So you'll notice only PNK and Kiki are red in the deck. That's really important when the mana base was constructed. I actually thought the deck looked fantastic as a green-white deck, and obviously the red cards are very, very, very powerful in the shell, and your sideboard answers get a little more robust with the red cards. But something to keep in mind, it's a green-white deck at its core. Maybe there's something there. So we're going to jump into a queue. We're going to see where the league takes us. Hopefully we'll get a nice spread of matches, and we'll see how this one runs. So I will see you in Game 1. This was Kent Ketter with Hot Takes on Cardhoarder.